people there.
You got it. Let me see if there's anyone. You're live now. Let me see. There's no one in the waiting room yet or in the other room except the only people for this call are the participants so far. There we go.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So this is our first meeting for the NSA Ad Hoc in August 11th. Thank you for joining us. Anyone from the public who is reviewing this after the fact or during the meeting, a few of the participants of the ad hoc are here, but it's 6 o'clock, so we might as well go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen and we can go through introductions. I get to see my screen, one moment. Sorry, my computer's a little slow. All right, this is our agenda for the evening. Introductions. We'll just go around the horn here. I'm Omar Farmer, alternate commissioner and chair of the NSA Ad Hoc Committee. This is our second session of the NSA Ad Hoc Committee for this year. We did another 4-month session earlier this year in preparation for the CMC event back in July. And so now we've restarted to prepare for our next CMC event on December 9th, I believe it is. And we also have with us, you can see from the agenda on our screen, the members of the ad hoc committee. Vice Chair Booker is not going to be able to join us today. She has a previous engagement, as well as the Inspector General, Mr. Maloof, is not going to join us. But I believe that Director Lawson and the chair of the commission will be here when they can. Mr. Contreras, do you mind introducing yourself, please?
Good evening. My name is Mariano Contreras. This would be my second participation in the NSA Ad Hoc. I was a community member for the first two ad hocs. Thank you.
Excellent. Glad to have your experience here. And Ms. Onkar, can you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hello, I'm Katina Ankar. I'm lead commission counsel for the Oakland Police Commission. And for the most part, I think my role here will just be to listen.
Perfect, thank you. And we also have our Chief of Staff, Ms. Montgomery. Do you mind introducing yourself as well?
Hello, my name is Micah Montgomery. I am Chief of Staff for the Police Commission, as alternate Commissioner Farmer mentioned. So I'm here for support and to chime in whenever I can.
Perfect, thank you. All right, so that's a little under 20 minutes that I had scheduled for this, but that's fine. And the good thing about not having everyone else that I mentioned here yet is that they're all familiar with the poem, the CMC statement poem that we're going to put together, which is basically a fancy term for a timeline, plan of action, and milestones. And they're also familiar with the director action plan, so we can go over that a little bit more in detail. And Mr. Contreras will have more of an opportunity to ask questions and provide feedback. So let's jump into that. I can show you what the poem from last time looked like. And this is it. It was disclosed at, yeah, Mr. Contreras.
Could you make that a little bit bigger, please?
No problem.
It's these old eyes. Thank you.
No, I hear you.
Alternate Commissioner Farmer, I just got a ping from Executive Director Lawson, and he's asking me to resend his link, so he'll be here in a second.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right.
Oh, you got it. Wait, is he in?
Is he there?
Antonio? Nope. Okay, let me go find him.
Okay. Let's give him a minute. I guess while we're waiting, since it's already pulled up, you can just kind of see. So last time when we started this process, initially, we only had around 2 months to create a statement, submit it, and then prepare for the event itself. Um, and then I believe it was OPD who requested for an extension, or maybe it was the city administrator's office because we had a unique situation with a new mayor coming in off of a recall. So to give everyone there more time to plan for this, they were able to extend it until July 10th. So we ended up being a 4 month process. So, and that was plenty of time to prepare to write the statement and to prepare for the event itself. And so basically we have the same amount of time for this time frame from today, August 11th until December 9th. It's almost exactly 4 months. So you can just kind of see what we did throughout that time period. We basically wrote the bulk of the statement over the course of the first 2 months. So you can see from like we started in mid-March to mid-April. You can see what was conducted. We started having our meetings. We went through, or at least myself and maybe, I'm not sure everyone went through all the other previous CMC statements, but I definitely read all of them. The commission has been participating in CMCs for the past couple of years. The commission and the community campaigned for that. That's been ongoing for the past several years. And finally, a couple of years ago, they did allow the commission to participate. So the commission has participated in around, I think, 3 or 4 CMCs overall. And by submitting statements and saying a statement during the event itself. So this was another one of those events. So we reviewed all those previous CMC statements and tried to build upon what had been done in the past to try and do something new, but also to take some of the things in the past and make it a part of our future initiatives, which is the Director Action Plan, which you'll see referenced throughout the Plan of Action and milestones here. So you can just kind of see what the timeline looked like. That's all this is, Plan of Action and milestones. And as we get closer to when the event itself was, you'll see dates like when to submit the document, like milestones like when to submit the document to the office of the city attorney's office, when the event itself is, when we're going to vote on the statement, when we're going to initially disclose it to the public, things like that. So that's what this is. Do you have any questions about this, Mr. Contreras? When you participated in the previous ones, did you all have a timeline?
We had a timeline, yes, but to be transparent, the first time I participated, there was a participation voice from the community, but there was no vote and no participation in what was the final piece that was going to be submitted to the CMC. And then after the second term, when the police commission leadership changed, that also changed. You know, we not only had voice, but we had vote. And so we had quite a bit of input into the statement itself. But yeah, there was a timeline. And, you know, we followed it pretty closely, as you know, that statement can be sometimes rigorous, and you always have to review it and make some changes. I have a question. So this is it for the ad hoc panelist?
It looks
Yeah.
like this is it for tonight right now. I believe that CPRA Director Lawson is trying to join, but
Here,
Okay.
I'm here.
he's here.
I'm here.
oh, he's there. Okay, thank you. So
Yes.
Director Lawson is here. Mr. Contreras, you want to continue what you were saying?
Yes, what I meant was this is it for community participants?
Yes.
Okay.
And our chief of staff did reach out to everyone who had participated in the past, but we either didn't hear back or they were unable to participate. And no new
Yes.
people reached out to request to join. So,
Got it.
Yes. So, Mariano, you were the only one that responded outside of Deacon Lyles, and he just has a conflict with the date and time. So I just told him definitely, we have the videos, we have everything, and we still would love his feedback, if he would like to submit it, even though he wouldn't be able to come to the meetings in real time. He hasn't responded yet, though, but yes, I reached out to quite a few people.
yeah, I
Thank
had
you.
some ideas on how to reach out to people for feedback, even if they can't make these meetings or join the ad hoc. And we'll get into that as we proceed with this. So, but I just wanted everyone to see like what I was talking about when I was talking about creating a plan of action and milestones for this 4-month ad hoc committee. And we can go back really quickly to doing introductions since Director Lawson is here. Director Lawson, do you mind just introducing yourself briefly, please?
How you doing? This is Tony Lawson. I'm interim executive director of CPRA.
Excellent. And you were a member of the last ad hoc committee. We
Yes.
appreciate you for doing that. Sorry, my computer here is really slow. So it takes a minute to pull up the agenda. Um, there we go. Okay. All right. So we can proceed with discussing. Let's just start to discuss the CMC statement itself and the director action plan together, like combine number 2 and 3 here, to discuss potentially what we could do. So one of the things that we wanted to build off of from last time is this document. And this is still a little bit of a rough version. It's kind of like an overview of what we discussed. It doesn't include everything. And one of the things that we wanted to include that we decided to, after I wrote up the last version of this, are many of the things that the NSA Ad Hoc put together in the Ad Hoc before the last one that you were part of, Mr. Contreras. And basically, one of the main things for us was to, even if we don't end up being appointed as the co-compliance director or get something in writing that would like direct the current compliance director to collaborate with us, to still conduct business along those lines. So there were like some ideas on what to do. And one of the things that we wanted to do specifically were to develop key performance indicators to help drive compliance with the tasks currently under the microscope, at least starting with those. But I believe ultimately it would be good to have key performance indicators for all of the tasks associated with creating sustained cultural change, which is a bunch. It's maybe like 6 or 7 tasks. Another thing that we're looking at doing is one of our main argument, and Mr. Lawson really put this, really spoke to this the best, is that the commission is the best entity to be able to drive cultural change within the department. That obviously the department has not been able to accomplish that over the years, the past 22 years, and that we're in the best position to be able to deliver that for the community. And so one of the things that we wanted to do is really just to help create, and this is something that I recently came up with, is this creating a culture of excellence within the department. And that's by not only driving compliance with the tasks designed to create sustained cultural change, but also through potentially asking or assigning something they used to do in the past, was assign members of the command staff to oversee tasks that were still out of compliance or under the microscope and then have those folks report out on those during our police commission meetings. So we thought that having the commission as like a co-compliance director would be a good thing for the court, because it not only takes a little bit of target off the court, but it gives the people from the public direct access to someone who's collaborating with the court. So that was one of the other things, and during which we could have potentially, and this is kind of a new thing that I'm bringing up right now tonight, having a command staff person assigned to each task who we can ask direct questions about. And the department has done that in the past. I believe they've done it. It was a while ago, but it was really effective back then when they did it. So that's just another idea. The KPIs, and that also the current compliance director, I believe, provides monthly reports to the court, or at least that's how the court order that created the compliance director position outlined that. And we felt that that could be something that we could do as well, is submit monthly or every other month reports to the court. Things that could be like showing the importance of the independence of the inspector general and showing what they're working on and how they're helping drive compliance, or updates on the KPIs, or helping drive sustained cultural change, things along those lines. It would be whatever we decide as a group to communicate to the court. Let's see what else. And then just following through the other things on the action plan. There are like more ideas here, like some things for us to maybe audit some of the policies that the police commission has like edited with the department in the past. We're actually working on potentially doing something like that with another ad hoc committee with the armored vehicle policy. I've requested that, and I've outlined exactly what we want to have audited. And that could be something that the commissioners and maybe that ad hoc could do to not put too much on the plate of the inspector general. So that's what you see here is ideas on how to create the director action plan. And all that said, and Mr. Contreras, since you didn't have an opportunity to participate in those previous ad hoc committee meetings, what do you think about all that? And do you have any ideas yourself about how to go about this?
Thank you. No, I think that that's a pretty comprehensive, it's going to take a lot of time to do this. So I think that it's good. One thing I would add or maybe consider is the current administration, city administration is looking at possibly reviewing or making some changes to the charter. I would, either have some kind of communication or do some kind of intel. Are they looking at making any changes to 604, the police commission, particularly where the IG would sit? I think that's very important. So, I would make that as a maybe. Yeah, sure. Make it as a task of the NSA Ad Hoc, or maybe another police commissioner can maybe look at that. Let's see. So, Federal Monitor Compliance Director. I think that you mentioned that culture change is one of the important aspects of the next CMC. I think that's important to highlight, but also let's see, you said the key performance indicators. I think that's also important to make it where they're, like you said, performative, but also in a way that they're also accountable. Not just simply looking at them and looking at some kind of movement, either positive or negative, but particularly if they are negative, that there's some kind of way to redirect that sliding back and making sure that, things are identified, why that happened, and then because that's all part of the compliance. So yeah, no, I don't have any other than that, any specific comments on that. Thank you.
Okay. Director Lawson, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to actually just affirm what Mr. Contreras was saying regarding the potential amendments to the charter, because I'm like Mr. Contreras hearing, in the wind that is an issue that is, the city is looking at, and it will definitely could potentially impact IG. And I think it's best that we get involved as soon as possible instead of us coming in later trying to, you know, disrupt what has already been decided. So I think whatever we can do as an organization, we need to move forward soon to be involved in the decision on that issue.
I agree with you. It's a major area of concern for me as well. And at the last CMC, the mayor did say that she was going to be looking at making changes to the charter. She didn't identify anything specifically, but I believe last year they were looking at making changes to the charter as well. And that's one of the things that has come up is moving, potentially changing the IG, how that office is set up. And now when you have the previous IG to the current IG working for the mayor's administration, I am really curious to hear from their office exactly what their intentions are, if anything. We'll see.
No, what I've heard is going to try to move it under the audit department, under the auditor, is what the
Yeah,
rumors
that's
are.
what they tried to do last year, right?
Right. So it's, we need to be involved in that discussion because a broader concern is if if we're out of the NSA as a city, who's going to do general, broader oversight and reporting? I mean, we don't seem to have a transition plan. Our plan seems to be all directed towards getting out from under the NSA, but I don't understand what the transition is to ensuring that there is um, continued compliance, and more important, continued auditing of the process within the city. And that's my concern. That I don't know how we do that without IG's office.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be really difficult to do that, Mr. Contreras.
Yeah, if I may, I totally agree. Two of the cornerstones of the police commission, which includes CIPRA and the IG, is authority and independence. And if it gets moved into a city entity, well, there goes your independence,
Yeah.
and I think that, that in itself is against the charter because, 83% of the voters voted for that. So yeah,
Mhm.
I think that, we need to, like Director Lawson said, we need to get in front of this as soon as possible.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what kind of relation anyone here has with, I think you were referring to Michelle Phillips, correct?
Correct. Yep.
Commissioner Farmer. Yeah, I don't know what kind of relationship, anyone here has with, but wouldn't be a bad idea to have a conversation with her.
Right. Yeah, I definitely wanted to start a dialogue with her, and I was even thinking of, well, I'll hold off on that, but I definitely was wanting to start a dialogue with them. And I did speak to the IG about this shortly after the CMC, and I was thinking that maybe our initial communication with the court, like those monthly reports or every other month reports, the first report could be about something related to the IG office and the work that the IG is doing, and the importance of the independence of his role, to try to, get that conversation going with the court as well, to continue to get their buy-in for that. So when he's here at the next meeting, we can discuss that more in detail. And maybe that can be one of the first things that we do, like by the end of September, uh, you know, send a communication to the court regarding something of that nature on that topic, and obviously have the IG involved. We can talk about the tasks they're currently auditing, which also have to do with internal affairs. They're just not ones that are under the microscope. They're ones that have been apparently put into compliance several years ago, but then it turns out it's not currently the case that all of them are. That task 3 is out of compliance, and that was put up on the IG's webpage, I think, sometime in July, early July, showing that. So I would leave it up to the IG exactly the main points that he wanted to put in. And I know at the last CMC, he did want to say something about this, but wasn't given an opportunity to speak. So I believe he has some things in mind about what he wants to communicate to the court. And then regarding, did someone have their hand up, Micah? I saw something in the chat, or did you just chat something to everyone?
Yes, I just sent a chat to Miss Nancy Swanson to let us know if she'd like to speak.
Okay, because we can do some public comment really quick if someone does have their hand up.
No one has their hand up yet.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then on the topic of KPIs, let me pull up something real quick. So this is something that I created just about task 2 itself. What some KPIs for task 2, that's one of the 3 tasks that's currently under the microscope, like what it could look like. This isn't any kind of final version. This is something I put together just to help us brainstorm about what we want to see. And so it starts off just talking about this is task 2, what task 2 is. And then this is like some boilerplate language from just about task 2 itself, what it says in like the quarterly monitor statements, basically. That's where I got this language, I believe.
Commissioner Farmer.
Yeah.
KPI.
Oh, keep thank you. Yeah, KPI stands for Key Performance Indicator.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, and then we'll get into exactly what those factors and indicators are later in this report. Can everyone see this? Is this large enough? Or I need to make it bigger? Make it a little bigger.
If you make it a little bigger, it would help, but I can see it.
So maybe I'll put it in.
If you put it in presentation view, it should be bigger.
Yeah, it's slow to get
There you go.
Thank you.
There it is.
All right, so this is the language about task 2. And then I just went through all the previous monitor reports going back to June 2023. Historically, this task recently has been in compliance. They only fell out of compliance last June, as you can see, or leading up to June at some point. I believe maybe sometime in March. If you follow commission meetings, I believe at our second March meeting, OPD came to us asking for an extension on DLIs, which is it's a type of investigation because they were getting behind on their investigations overall and they wanted more time. And task 2 has to do with the timeliness of completing investigations. DLI stands for division level investigation. And investigations in general, there's 2 different types, class 1 and class 2, and the department has 180 days to complete those investigations. But technically, they can take it up to a year. But if they go beyond a year, it violates a policy called, I think it's called the 3304 policy. And it's a real big issue for the court. So they asked for an extension on division level investigations that had to do with use of force, not the division level investigations that have to do with internal affairs. That has to do with the NSA. But it's really telling about like the culture in which the investigations are being conducted. To me, I thought it was telling. So it's something to keep an eye on. They're saying that they don't have enough people to complete those investigations. So these investigations may suffer as well. We'll see. All right, so this is the history of it. And then, so there are 3 subtasks associated with this task. If any subtask is out of compliance, the whole task is out of compliance. So there's subtask 2.1, requires that, you can see what it says on the screen, requires that internal investigations and division level investigations be completed in accordance with timeliness standards developed by OPD, which is what we just discussed. All right, and then on this chart, you see it broken down on the left-hand column, like what the indicators could be. It's also on the left side of this other, of the right side of the screen. And then the numbers associated with the indicators could be a way to score whether or not they're out of compliance with these subtasks. So this isn't something that the current compliance director is doing right now. And these are just ideas for indicators on how to measure this. So I really would like everyone to look at these, let me know what you think. And we don't have to get into all detail about this, right now, unless you want to. But I just wanted to show you an idea of how we could create the KPIs for, the tasks under the microscope, basically. So you see here 3304 mentioned. You see the 85% of Class 1 internal affairs and defense level or division level investigations need to be completed 180 days, Class 1, Class 2, 3304, and then some new things that aren't in the that aren't mentioned in the subtask list that we got from OPD that they use like along with the current compliance director. Safeguards in place to prevent delays in the review process. Sometimes you'll hear them say, like an example of a safeguard could be that at their weekly meeting, they're talking about cases that are coming up on their 3304 date. That's kind of an example of a safeguard, but maybe there are some more creative or effective ways to create safeguards that they're not currently doing. And then another idea for an indicator, documentation showing that cases close to their expiration date are reviewed with the chief weekly. I guess I just said that. But I don't think that's always the case, even though they're having these weekly meetings. Maybe sometimes they aren't able to have their weekly meeting because I'm sure the chief and other people have a lot of meetings. And maybe if we're tracking that, we can see whether or not the weekly meeting is actually occurring. So, Mr. Contreras, you had your hand up?
I wanted to ask, I know that, so this is what you're recommending, right?
Mm-hmm.
On the one on the right side. And so I think it would be important to somewhere is maybe mention what it is now, the minimal indicators that are being used right now, because, it's almost close to, just checking off a box because there was maybe 2 visits by the compliance monitor who's, but it's not as rigorous as what you have here. So it might be important to, mention what is being used now currently. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, good point. And just to that point, the things that are being currently used now is just the 85% of Class 1 and 2 180-day thing, as well as the 3304 date thing. I don't believe that they're really tracking whether or not they're having these monthly meetings with I don't know. So this is a way to look into that, basically. And if we want to create more safeguards, this is a way to do that. And then, so going back to the left side of the slide, so basically that also is to your point. So this first one at the top says this indicator is not part of OPD practices and there is no plan in place to make it a part of their practices. So if that's the case, so you could like associate that, for example, with a new safeguard that we come up with, right? And say they don't want to do it, then they would get a score of a 1 for not wanting to do a new thing that we want them to do, basically. And then you could get a score of a 2 if this indicator is not part of OPD practices, but planning is in place to implement it. So maybe we come up with a safeguard that they agree to install as well, and they're working on getting it into their process. They would get a score of a 2 on that. Or you could get a score of a 3 if this indicator is a part of OPD practices generally, though without tracking or using results to drive improvements and without a plan to do so. So that may be the case with the weekly chief meetings. I don't know. Maybe they are really tracking it to help drive improvements. We could find out. You could get a score of a 4 if this indicator is a part of OPD practices with planning underway to track and use results to drive improvement. So if they have something that they're working with and they're really trying to improve, you can get a score of a 4. You get a score of a 5 if the indicator is part of their practices and is regularly monitored and used to drive improvements, which you could associate with these first 2 indicators in the top here, class 1 and class 2, the 85% references. So that's kind of how you break that, the scoring of it down. Yep.
Okay, first of all, if I'm speaking too much, let me know and I'll, okay.
No, I will. And,
Okay,
and
okay,
you're
thank
fine.
you.
I mean, it's just us.
Okay,
So we have time.
okay,
I had set aside time for 20 minutes for introductions, and we ended up only needing, around 10 minutes. So we're good on time. Right now
okay,
it's 6:37. So we're moving along with this.
okay,
And we can go to the next slide.
okay. Well, wait. So
Go back.
on the scoring,
Mhm. Yeah.
um, many times the reason that OPD gives for not complying or meeting these indicators or these tasks is that they don't have enough people.
Right.
That's one of that should be taken in consideration under a score, because I'm sorry, I don't want to offend anyone, but that's a bogus and old excuse. They use that for almost everything. So that should be considered as as part of the score. If there's a real reason, let's hear it. But if it's always, well, you know what, we don't have enough people, we don't have the budgets to, it's not inclusive and all that stuff, that should be part of, like, that's a lame reason they get a low score. I don't know. That's for consideration.
I agree. It's a very poor reason. It's a frequently used reason. That in the budget thing, those are their big reasons. So, um, yeah, let's put our heads together and figure out how to incorporate that with the scoring. I agree with you there. Any thoughts on that, Director Lawson? What do you think about that?
But no, I kind of agree with both of you are saying. I mean, I think this is a good start.
Okay.
And,
Ms. Montgomery?
excuse me?
I wanted to just make a comment. I was speaking with OPD today, and I was following up on the division level timeline or that you were referring to, but they made a correction. They corrected me and said that it's not involved division level monitoring. It is actually their special order 9214 and that DGO K04 reporting, and that's what it was. So I just wanted to make sure we have that on record, because they just told me that, and they're like, it's not division level investigation. So I'm going to put that in the chat just so you have it, and then I can follow up with you on that more, Commissioner Farmer.
That what's not division level investigation? I don't follow.
So if you recall, we started having a discussion at our last meeting, and Vice Chair Booker wanted to get an update, and you chimed in on, hey, we need to understand what's going on because we said we would revisit it again.
Yeah.
When I sent that information, they're like, there's no division level investigation. You guys might be talking about the special order that you guys voted on that extended our practices because they were taking too long to actually do that within working hours. So she corrected me and said it's not division level investigations. It is regarding the special order, and it doesn't affect or involve division level monitoring. So I just got that hot off the press today. But before you continue to say that, I wanted to make sure you know I had that conversation with OPD.
Okay, well, we can follow up on that, and
Yes.
I'll go
I'm
back and look at the tape of that meeting. I remember them putting it in the context of DLIs, but
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm confused. Well, they're saying that
yeah,
the extension of time to complete the investigation wasn't for DLI investigations.
It
Is that
was
what?
for they said that it was the special order 9214 makes targeted changes to the DGO KO4 reporting investigating the use of force specifically to force investigations and their extension timelines.
yeah.
That's what they call it. Unless it's something different from that, that's what they said they had the conversation on, and that the committee, the commission voted on, or got the extension. It was not specific to DLI. And
All
I'll
right.
forward you the email too, Tony, so you can take a
Okay.
look at it. Unless
Right.
there's a completely different conversation that they're saying that I don't know, because they're saying DLI, no.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought I just heard that, but let's not let that hijack this.
Not at all. I just wanted
Right.
to make sure it was on record so that because I did just get that information.
Okay,
That's it.
all right, thank you. All right,
Mm.
let's proceed with this. Did you have another question or comment about this slide, Mr. Contreras, or good? All right. Okay, subtask 2.2 requires that IAB, which is Internal Affairs Bureau, and OPD command staff regularly monitor compliance with the established timeliness standards. Okay, and then you have these indicators on the far left are going to stay the same every time. And then these are the indicators, the actual, well, I mean, like the scoring of the indicators is going to change, is not going to change. And the indicators themselves are here in the middle column. And so the IAB, you can see what they are. The IAB commander discussed pending deadlines for key open investigations during IAB's weekly meetings with the chief. I believe they're actually doing that. Upcoming pending deadlines are reflected in written agendas for weekly meetings with the chief. That it kind of is on this along the same lines of one of the indicators in the last slide. An NSA internal monitoring team member was present at each meeting. I believe that they're supposed to be present at least once a month. I'm not sure, so that's something to find out. I don't know if that's true or not. That's something that I came up with. IAB as needed, and I can email everyone a copy of this as well. IAB as needed emailed individual members on cases approaching due dates to investigators and their supervisors. That's something that I've heard them mention at meetings, doing that they say that they're doing, but I don't know how consistent they are in actually doing that every time. I don't know. IAB tracks at what staffing level and workload that timeliness standards become challenging. So the reason why I put that is that they fell out of compliance with this around mid-March when they were saying like their staffing level reached some sort of breaking point. And I keep meaning to go back and see in that agenda exactly what their staffing level was compared to how many investigations they have. But I think that would be a key thing for them to track to know exactly what their breaking point could be. And I realize that every investigation is kind of unique uh, on its own merit and may take more time or resources than other investigations. But I think this is a really worthwhile thing to know, like at which point uh, does like, say they have uh, 300 investigations and 50 staff people. Those aren't the exact numbers for the sake of easy numbers. That at that point they're like, hey, we need an extension, this is not going to work out. I don't know exactly how to put that into words, but that's the idea that I had behind that indicator. So what do you all think about that? Is particularly that indicator itself. I mean, do you think that's a worthwhile thing to track, or how would you word it? If it is something you want to track, what do you think? And if if you're still thinking about it, that's fine too. We can always come back to it, and I can continue the next slide. 6:45.
It's good to know, actually.
Yeah, that would be a good thing to know, right? I mean,
Hmm. Yeah.
is that something that you track, Director Lawson? Maybe like, hey, when we have, because you're supposed to have so many investigators per 100.
Well, we have it built into the chart. We're supposed to have one investigator for every 100,000 citizens, residents, but which means we should have 7. We only have 3 right now, and we've been authorized though to now we've been funded for 7, so we're hiring now to bring it to full staffing. But it would help to have some sense of what staffing level you think is sufficient, not sufficient, instead of hearing that we don't have enough people. Okay, what's enough
Yeah,
people?
yeah, I want to know the actual facts, what that is
Yeah,
in numbers. Yeah.
right. So I think it's a good idea.
Okay. All right. Next one. 2.3 requires that if IB experiences an unusual proliferation of cases and or workload, IB staffing can be increased to maintain timeliness standards. The federal monitor / compliance director team routinely requests and receives updates on IB staffing levels during and between their site visits. All right, and this is what it actually looks like in terms of measuring that information. Um, IAB has defined what an unusual proliferation of cases or workload is, which I don't know if that's the case. I think that's definitely something that we need to know. That that speaks to like what your staff level is and how many cases you have as well. Um, so I think that's good to know. Like, I would think that a proliferation of cases, a good example of that, would be like the proliferation of cases they received in response to the Black Lives Matter protests and the George Floyd protests of 2020. Because I believe that they received so many complaints due to how um, they conducted themselves during like the protests at Mosswood Park, where they inappropriately launched tear gas on the protesters there. That they received so many complaints that they started to get like a huge backlog back then. So that to me is an example of a proliferation of cases, and I would know exactly. I would like to know exactly how they would, consider what a proliferation is. Like how many cases per officers they have working on cases, something to that effect. Um,
Actually, that I mean, the pace is pretty steady unless there is a protest. That's pretty much when you're going to see, as you mentioned, a proliferation. When there's a protest, then you'll see a lot. But otherwise, there's from what I've seen, there's no huge jumps here and there. It's kind of a consistent pattern.
yeah, and we
What about
haven't had
summertime?
major protests in a while. One second, I'll get to you. But I feel like the way that the direction that the country is kind of going right now, that we could.
Yes, we could very well.
Yeah, Mr. Contreras.
I was just saying, summertime, summertime when school lets out, right before school gets back, those are a lot of activity going on during that time. So that could be a seasonal thing also.
Yeah, and maybe like the midterm elections next year could be something like that. If I just saw today that the White House was going to put maybe military or some sort of, or maybe federal law enforcement in charge of Washington, D.C. And I watched the press conference from 47, and he said that he mentioned Oakland. He mentioned a bunch of uh, cities led by Democrat-led cities, Baltimore, Oakland, and a bunch of others, and said that he might want to do the same thing there. So if something like that happens here, we're already,
So it's talking martial law.
yeah, right. So that could create some protests. We're already having this issue with the profiling and the mass deportation issue. So that in and of itself is a reason for major First Amendment protests, and that combined with martial law or something along those lines, I just think it's better to be prepared rather than just react. And I think one of the things that help us prepare is to having some way to to understand like what an unusual proliferation of cases or workload could look like. Mr. Contreras, were you saying something? Okay. All right, and then another indicator, IAB is able to demonstrate how staffing levels increased or decreased over the past month. I really wonder about that. I mean, they don't have too many people at IAB. I don't even know the numbers off the top of my head, so I would like to find out what it is. I know they're always trying to move people around to meet the demands of the department. What exactly does that look like, and how are they tracking it? Another indicator, IAB is able to demonstrate how cases or their workload has increased over the past month. So one is talking about what did it say? Staffing levels, and then the other one is work specific to workload. Yes.
When you refer to staffing, is that sworn and civilian, or just sworn?
What I mean, I would think both. So I would, I'm trying to find out. I don't know exactly. So I'm trying to find out the answer to that question as well.
Okay.
Um, and then IAB has a pre-planned response for how to address decreases in staff. So they're always saying how, on average, 5 officers are leaving the department per month. And I believe that they know, how many people have the potential to retire each year. They're always talking about that. So I would think that they would have some sort of pre-planned response or turnover plan for people who are going to be leaving and how they're going to fill those gaps. So I would think that's something that they already have in place, and that could probably be like a 4 or 5 score for them. And then another one is IAB has a pre-planned response for how to address increases in workload. I don't know if they do or not. So this is just really in detail about workload and staffing levels, and a couple of different questions along those lines. Any other questions or comments about this subtask? All right.
No.
Okay, and then this is how the actual scoring could look. You have the 3 subtasks, and all the way on the left, you have up to 75 possible score for each one, or actually, no, I'm sorry, a 25 for each one, 75 total. And then depending on what those scores are, we could decide ourselves saying that maybe they have like maybe they don't score more than a 15 for one of these subtasks, saying that they have on average a score of a 3 for, let me go back to one of these, like a 3 for each one. I think that would be kind of low. And then we could discuss like next steps on how to improve upon those indicator requests, basically. And then we could put, a timeline associated with how to put those recommendations into place, basically, the next steps recommendations. That's just an idea. I've never done this before from scratch like this. So please, if anyone has like any opinions or thoughts on that, feel free to chime in. But I believe that I feel this could be really effective, or at least give us some way how to start grading them. And this doesn't have to be the final way about how to go about doing that. So, all right, that's the end of this presentation about task 2. That was just task 2. And then the really involved one is task 5. Task 5 has about at least 19 subtasks. So we will be talking about 19 different slides for each subtask, and having as many indicators for those as possible. That could get really involved, but I think it could be really effective, and that's the point. So um, that's where we're going with KPIs, and I just wanted to show that to you all so you could visualize that, because that could be like a key thing that we want to communicate to the court, and the key thing that will help us drive compliance with these tasks under the microscope. And if we want to expand these KPIs beyond the ones currently under the microscope, then we could start with the other ones associated with achieving sustained cultural change, which is like some use of force ones, um, and task 45, we would like to include that, which has to do with consistency of discipline, and some others. So with that, we'll go back to the agenda because we only have a couple minutes left in the meeting. Um, that's kind of like where the director action plan could drive us. The establishment of KPIs, communication to the court, and um, yeah, that helping us start to create a culture of excellence within the department. So that's one of the areas where we wanted to start. Um, and then in terms of actually producing a CMC statement itself, I figured that we could, discuss all the different things that we want to do with the director action plan, maybe over this first month, and then start to actually write something and give ourselves about 2 months to produce something. And then the commission's going to need to vote on that. And then we can make some revisions over that past month leading up to the CMC itself. But then also during that last month, go over talking points for the CMC event itself to help our chair prepare to what he wants to say to the judge. Because that's another big part of the CMC itself. There's the statement and then there's the event. So we can get into what we talked about during the event when we get to that part of this ad hoc. Any other questions or concerns, or any hands up from the public, Micah?
Here, just trying to get off mute. No hands up.
Okay, Mr. Contreras.
I like this. I like the KPIs. But is there any way to get the compliance monitor to buy into this bolstering of the of the reviews of the compliance?
Yeah.
How is because to do the scorecard throughout in between CMCs is a good thing, but if the only way we can there's no way to put that into motion into action other than the current compliance monitor to be able to buy into that. Is there a plan to maybe have a conversation or meet? I know these dudes are, and I say dudes because I don't think there are any women involved. I think they like to, be up here above us, and they know how to do this. They've done this before, and plus they're gaining some money. They may not listen to that, but maybe we should talk about a plan to approach them and have a conversation about that. Do you think these things, these KPIs are we going in the right direction? Will this assist you? Will this, those kind of questions? Thank you.
Right. No, very good point. And that is something that we tried to do during the last ad hoc. And the chair of the commission did have, I believe, he had a conversation briefly with the monitor at one point. But when we tried to follow up on some other things like this, I'm not sure if another conversation was had. But I feel like we could get some buy-in from them in regards to either them also tracking these things, or just them agreeing that we should do this. And we would like to, collaborate with them, or, have discussions with them on some sort of regular basis. I'm not sure how often Warshaw, who is the last name of the person who's the Federal Monitor and Compliance Director, comes to Oakland. I don't believe it's very often. I think it's been a minute since he's been here, but I believe he does have a person, like a non-attorney person, that may attend these the IMT meetings or something. She's like his representative here in
Yeah,
Oakland.
Robin.
Yeah, Robin, right.
Mhm.
If we could maybe at least like have some discussions with her. I'd love to invite her to an ad hoc meeting, you know, and collaborate with her if we can. So um, we can try that, and we can try to have discussions with Warshaw. So that's definitely something that we want to do. So we're on the same page there. Miss Montgomery, do you have Robin's contact info by chance?
I do. I'll forward it to you.
Well, there we go. All right,
Actually, I'll make an introduction for you, so
Perfect.
you're not cold calling.
Perfect. All right. So we'll get started with that, and then I'll also discuss with the IG about how and what he would want to communicate to the court in this initial contact to them before our next meeting, and we can discuss that then as well. And that's all I have for tonight. Are there any other questions or comments?
In here.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and I will have another agenda for our meeting next week, and we'll see you then.
Thank
Have a
you.
good evening.
Good night.